Welcome in to our latest episode of the Neighborhood Bulldog. I am your host, Scott Neighbors, and I am your Neighborhood Bulldog. Back with you here on a Thursday morning as you're listening, hopefully. Little hiatus last week as the wife and I had to go celebrate our anniversary. Took a trip out to Las Vegas. Hadn't been there in about 10 to 15 years. And I had a good time. It was hot, man. It was hot. About 118, 117 every day. And wouldn't you know, the week that we come back home, it's around 90, 92 out there and raining. So definitely got to feel some of that dry heat. But overall, left with a profit. Doesn't happen very often for people in Vegas, but it happened to me. Got to see some cool shows. Got to go to the Ron Fellows Corvette Driving School, which was incredible. Just an amazing experience. And I encourage anybody with a Corvette or that wants a sports car to hit that school up. It was amazing. I can't say enough good things about it. The food was even better. We had a really, really good time. We spent the whole week out there. So that's why I'm just now getting back with you here. Not really any huge news to cover. Got a few things to talk about tonight, and you're going to get to hear me rant for probably the first time in quite some time. I know the first time since we've done this show solo. So once we dive into this, there's not going to be a lot of stopping. I'm going to roll right through because some of these topics have got me hot tonight, and I will just be honest with you. It may get a little crazy in here, so be prepared. Some fall camp updates from Mississippi State. Been keeping up with a little bit of the player interviews, Jeff Lebby interviews. Really enjoyed the assistant coaches media day last week. I listened to it while we were driving around in Vegas out there, and I think a lot of people were very excited to hear from Zach Arnett. Excuse me, for pretty much the first time since he left Mississippi State, to be honest with you. First time he's been back in front of the camera talking to everybody, and the guy is just a stone cold football dude. He loves football. Like he was asked what brought him back to Mississippi State, could not have been a better answer. I just love coaching defense, man. That's the Zach Arnett that we know. That's the Zach Arnett that we fell in love with as the defensive coordinator that gave Nick Saban fits, as Nick Saban said at SEC Media Days this year. So really good to hear from him. I liked how he opened up about his defense, and one theme that has already been shared by a lot of podcasters, but I definitely see it, is confidence. That one word, I think, is the separator for the coaches and players as we enter this season. The last several seasons, anytime you asked a coach or player that was, something about how does this unit look or how is this unit going to perform, there was a lot of, well, we'll see, or, well, we're still shoring it up. We're not sure. We're not getting that this year so far. We're getting a ton of confidence from every position and every coach. And I see why a lot of fans have a lot of optimism and expectations. Zach Arnett being back is a huge driver of that optimism. Pair that with what we think Kamario Taylor is going to be able to do, and there's all the reason for optimism right there. And I got to be honest, I used to be a sucker and get sucked into the media days and the hype and all, but it's been a while just because we have not had anything to look forward to. We would get excited and then immediately crap the bed the last 2 or 3 seasons. And, with that said, I have really tried to temper my expectations and not fall into that. But this might be one of the hardest years that I've had to kind of keep myself calm because of how confident everyone around the program seems to be. There is a lot of excitement. There's a lot of confidence. There is a lot of new staff members that Jeff Lebby added. And one of the complaints that people had about Jeff Lebby over the last several seasons was some of the in-game decisions really could feel and see the learning on the job aspect of being a head SEC coach for the first time. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that this year because of the staff that he added around him. When you add up the number of years of head coaching experience that is collectively on the football staff right now, it's a lot better than people realize. With that said, I also think that a lot of the confidence and excitement going into this year stems from the fact that we have been so bad, but I don't think people truly understand how bad of a situation Jeff Lebby walked into. I think a lot of people realized it was not great. I don't think a lot of people realize just how truly horrific it was. Our NIL situation, virtually nothing. Thank God for Charlie Winfield. Let me say that. Without Charlie Winfield, we would be scraping the bottom of the barrel, and it would not be looking good at all. So I really, really like where we're at NIL-wise. He's had to turn over the roster. He's had to hit the portal. We are seeing guys in skill positions under Jeff Lebby that we've never seen. Look at this wide receiver room. When is the last time we had a wide receiver room that looked like this? I mean, we just had our first wide receiver drafted in Lord knows how long under Jeff Lebby. And he ultimately didn't have a quarterback that could throw to him very much. And he still got drafted. What's it going to look like with Kamario Taylor back there who can throw the ball, who can escape the pocket and create time and keep the chains moving? That, I think, is where a lot of optimism comes in at. Because if you're seeing what Jeff Lebby did and you're watching receivers and running backs run open the last two seasons, we just didn't have a quarterback that could get the ball to him, in large part because he either held the ball too long or because the offensive line couldn't block a piece of paper. What's that going to look like when we do have somebody that can get the ball to them? That, for me, is what's going to make the biggest difference this season and where my excitement lies. Now, does that change my schedule prediction? You'll find out. Because next episode, next week, we will get into the schedule and get some predictions thrown out there. It is interesting to see some of the predictions so far. And I will tell you, I'm seeing anything from 3 wins to 9 wins. And I would say I'm probably somewhere in the middle of that. Again, trying to temper expectations until I see Jeff Lebby coached teams do it. I'm going to keep my expectations tempered because so far I hadn't seen them do it. We've seen them blow leads late in the game of games they had no business losing. I'd like to see them hold a lead against a good team this year and put them away. That's what I'm looking for all season long. I don't care who it comes against. I just want to see them hold a lead against a team that might be a surprise that we beat them. Just imagine this, though. Imagine last season with all the ups and downs, all the craziness. Imagine Mississippi State holds on to win that Tennessee game. Then imagine Mississippi State holds on to win that Texas game. Then imagine that Mississippi State wins that game at Florida. And then imagine that Mississippi State's defense decides they can block air and we end up winning the Egg Bowl. The offense was there in the Egg Bowl. It was the defense that just could not stop a runny nose. Imagine those, let's see, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Egg Bowl. That's 4 games right there that Mississippi State easily could have won. 3 for sure. The Egg Bowl might be a stretch, but I feel like the offense played good enough to win that game. There's 4 more wins right there, and we were already at 4 or 5, right? I mean, you add in a good defense and an average offensive line, Jeff Lebby might be able to do it, man. I'm just telling you right now. Don't be surprised. Moving on to probably the biggest news break that happened in the last day or two, actually, as I'm getting back in the swing of work every day and all that, coming off vacation, which let me tell you, when you're used to wearing shorts and flip-flops anytime you're not in the office and you go a whole week in shorts and flip-flops and shirt untucked every day, and you got to come back to khaki pants and a shirt tucked in, it's miserable. It is no fun at all. I also didn't think the 2-hour time change, the fact that they were 2 hours behind out there, I didn't think that would affect me. But man, I've got some lag about me, and it has been rough the last few days. I have been a tired fella. So moving on into that news break, Pete Thamel had a huge bombshell that he dropped the other day when he tweeted that Mississippi State had initiated the process to reinstate players Jerron Manning and Malik Silla due to a judge in Colorado setting an injunction and allowing players from the class of 2022 to play their extra year of eligibility. A huge, huge development. When we saw that the judge set that injunction, I think these were the first 2 players that people thought of. Of course, you got Jerron Manning, who was a big piece of the defense last season. Then you got Malik Silla, who was largely a backup, but toward the end of the year, he really came into his own and started making some big-time plays, especially in the absence of Will Whitson, who we're going to have back this season. 2 guys that absolutely could help this team. Now, is it make or break? I hope not, because Jeff Lebby and the other coaches up to this point had to operate under the assumption that they're done, that they have no more eligibility. But this judge in Colorado comes out and just surprises everyone. We've got Jerron Manning, who technically could be added back to that secondary, which would give Mississippi State easily one of the best secondary units in the entire country. Last year, total in his career, he's got 24 games played, 21 starts. He's got 1 season at Mississippi State where he played in 13 games, and he started 10 of those games. He led Mississippi State in tackles. He was second in pass breakups, and he was third in the SEC as a whole in tackles. That's production that we could absolutely use in a Zach Arnett defense right now. Malik Silla, 13 games, 1 start, similar. 33 tackles, 7 for loss, 2 pass breakups, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Again, massive, massive news if those guys can get eligible. Now, I believe it was yesterday, the media was able to go interview and speak with Jeff Lebby. And, of course, a lot of the questions were surrounding this breaking news. And Jeff Lebby, he's a pretty in-the-moment guy. He's not going to speculate a lot. And so he didn't really he gave coach speak answers, but he also said that there's still a long way to go in that process, that there's a lot of boxes that have to be checked to get them eligible. But as of right now, today, until those boxes are checked with the NCAA, they are still considered ineligible to play. They are working on it, as Jeff Lebby said, but we will see how that goes. Again, he said it's a long process. They are working on it. The two guys are in the building preparing for a return just in case, and they hope it goes that direction. But ultimately, right now, today, they are still ineligible despite what that judge said. Hopefully they follow that process and get that done and get that taken care of, because, again, in a Zach Arnett defense, adding someone like Malik Silla in the pass rush, massive, absolutely massive. You could have him and Will Whitson just dogging the quarterback and running back there. And then Jerron Manning alongside Isaac Smith and Kelly Jones. Come on. That's a solid defense. Now, at that point, that's a top defense in the SEC, I feel like, just on personnel alone. And the Zach Arnett effect that we've seen. We know what Zach Arnett can do with a defense, and it gives coaches fits. How many games in the Mike Leach era did defense keep us in when the offense couldn't move the ball 4 yards and just had to throw out routes for 2 or 3 yards a pop, and we couldn't move the ball? Defense largely kept us in those games. If Zach Arnett's defense does half of that right now, with a Jeff Lebby offense headed by Camario Taylor, we would have no issues. I'm telling you. That is where a lot of the excitement comes from right there. Moving on to our next topic, I really enjoyed the Brandon Walker college football show the other day, as he had RG3 join him for an interview that was phenomenal. He asked RG3 a lot of questions, but for this podcast specifically, he did not really harped on, but he did make sure to ask him about the comparison that Jeff Lebby made of Camario Taylor to RG3. Jeff Lebby, RG3's offensive coordinator at Baylor under Art Briles, RG3's Heisman Trophy year, where he kind of came out of nowhere. And RG3 said something that stuck out to me. He said once he heard Jeff Lebby say that, he went back and he watched more tape of Camario Taylor. And he saw the comparison. The other thing that caught my ears is he said that if Jeff Lebby is making that comparison, then Jeff Lebby knows what he's talking about. And again, he coached RG3, so you got to take his word for it there. I encourage you to listen to that interview. If you don't want to listen to any other part of Brandon Walker's football show, I encourage you to listen to that interview. It was really, really good. Had a little fun with it at the end there with their bet about the Heisman Trophy. Really good stuff. Now we're going to move into the second part of the show. Now's when it might get a little wild for you. So buckle up. It's rant time, baby. Let me grab a drink of this here out of my national championship cup. Everybody ready? Loosen up, stretch, do whatever you got to do, but buckle up. Bud Elliott, a guy who I've listened to before. I've read his stuff before. Overall, I like Bud Elliott. So this is not a shot at Bud Elliott, the person. But he's part of the Cover 3 podcast that is sponsored by CBS Sports. Okay? At some point on their show, Bud Elliott apparently said something to the effect of Camario Taylor, since he missed his senior year of high school. It was a picture of Bud Elliott on the set, subtitles, Camario since he missed his senior year of high school. Mario Taylor didn't miss his senior year of high school. Bud Elliott is a national college football personality on a show sponsored by CBS Sports. Mississippi State may not be in the top of the pack in the SEC, but Mississippi State is an original member of the SEC and has been number one in the country, more so than several other teams in the SEC conference. And you're telling me that you have done so little research to prepare for this football season that the highest level quarterback recruit in school history comes in, plays in several games last season. SEC Media Days happens. He starts to get all the hype from the Manning Passing Academy. SEC Media Days is talking about him. Nick Saban's talking about him. All these big-time personalities are honing in on, hey, Mario Taylor might be the real deal. And you do so little research that you throw something out there as absolutely dumb as him missing his senior year of high school. Mario Taylor went 11-3 his senior year of high school and led them to their third straight state championship appearance. But Bud Elliott thinks he didn't play in his senior year of high school at Noxubee County in Macon, Mississippi. What are we doing? I'm a fan, guys. I'm a fan. And I can keep up with who's good in the conference and who's not. And I can literally do a Google search in 2 seconds and tell you who went where when. I'm not on a CBS sports show. I don't have a studio. I'm in my house. I am at my house at my computer desk doing this show right now. I don't know what Bud Elliott makes per year. But if you're going to be a college football media personality, you got to know your stuff. And it is absolutely embarrassing to say something as stupid as Mario Taylor not playing his senior year of high school. I mean, you literally had to do no searching, no looking at Mississippi State's roster, no looking at Mario Taylor's profile on the roster, not talking to Jeff Lebby. You would have had to ignore every interview and any preparation at all to speak on Mississippi State by saying something that abundantly egregious. There's being wrong. I'm sure people will come at me when I have my schedule prediction next week, and I'm one of those. I would love to be wrong on the better side. If I predict 6 wins and we win 9, I want you to come for me. I want you to tell me I was wrong, because I'm going to be over the moon that I was wrong. But Bud Elliott, you cannot have the platform you have and say something that is that level of inaccurate. There is simply no excuse whatsoever for that to happen. And to me, all he basically told all the Mississippi State fans that listen to his show, I'm not one of them, and I will not be one of them moving forward because of this. All he said, all he told us was, I don't care about your team. And that's fine. I don't care what Bud Elliott thinks about Mississippi State. I like to hear different analysis. I like to hear what Nick Saban thinks, because he's been there and he's done that. I like to hear what the Crane Show guys think. They usually have some pretty good analysis. But anybody watching that show today thinks that Now, Kamario Taylor didn't play his senior year of high school football. And that melts my brain. That on that platform you can say something so wrong and still get paid and not get fired on the spot. If I go into my job tomorrow and I tell a customer something that is that abundantly wrong, I get fired for that. But not Bud Elliott, not sports personalities, and I'm sick of it. It's the same thing I said back during baseball season. So little people take pride in their jobs anymore. It's sickening. You have people that have houses that look like garbage, cars that are not taken care of, families that are not taken care of. People don't have any pride anymore in the things that they have. And if I was a college football personality and I got paid to talk college football all day, rather than just doing it for fun in my free time, I would really want to make sure that I knew what the hell I was talking about before I bring it up to a national audience. But apparently Bud Elliott doesn't see it that way. Hugely embarrassing moment for him. And I don't know if he has corrected the record. I don't know if he has said a word about it, to be honest with you. And he may not. He may care so little that he may not. But that really burned me up today and stood out to me. Rant number 2. Second thing that burned me up today. Let's see here. Brandon Sklar with the Clarion Ledger. Not mad at him. He's doing his job reporting the story the way that he's supposed to. He puts out an article today that allows us Mississippi State fans to learn that 2 Mississippi State football players received level 3 violations from the NCAA for placing bets on sports. There were a few other things that happened. I think a coach signed an apartment lease with a player, which, if you're an NCAA coach, you should know better. You're forced to take an NCAA rules test when you're coaching in college. I know because I've had to take that test even at the D3 level when I coached. And you have to pass that test. And it has all these rules in there. You have to know the rule book. And there's a lot of stuff that can be called nuances that can get you. But there's also a lot of common sense involved in some of these rules. So while we're signing on to an apartment lease for a player, we got to be smarter than that. The 2 that got caught for betting on sports, that's the ones that really stand out. And that's the source of this rant right now. Because I could not open X today without some Texas Tech loser. Well, what about Brendan Sorsby? Oh, they only got a level 3 violation, but we don't have a quarterback. Hundreds and hundreds of tweets and retweets and reposts and shares and replies from Texas Tech idiots trying to compare the Brendan Sorsby situation to this situation at Mississippi State. Trying to say that it's unfair that Mississippi State's players, 2 of them, received level 3 violations, which is the lowest form of NCAA penalty that you can have. Hundreds. I mean, I almost had to mute the word gambling and sports and Mississippi State just so I could see what was going on in the world. Flooded the timeline. I mean, they came together like the true cult that they are. I thought Texas A&M was a cult. Buddy, you should have seen it today with what Texas Tech fans pulled off. So let's dive into that comparison, shall we? Since Texas Tech fans want to show their idiocy and compare it, by God, let's compare it, Texas Tech fans. Get on in here, grab you a drink, and have a seat. Sit down and shut up. Let's compare the Brendan Sorsby situation to the Mississippi State situation. Mississippi State had a player that in February placed a $50 bet, one $50 bet on the Super Bowl using the app known as Kalshi, which is a prediction market app. It's similar to Polymarket, but along those same lines. One $50 bet that he lost, by the way. A second Mississippi State player placed one $10 bet on the NBA All-Star game and one $10 bet on the three-point competition, the three-point shooting competition. After they placed those bets, the platform that monitors the NCAA athletes flagged them. Mississippi State calls them in. They admit to it. Didn't lie. Didn't run. Didn't try to hide it. And the NCAA gives them a level 3 violation. Again, the lowest form of violation. I believe one of them had to pay $67 back and do some community event. I mean, what are we talking about here? Come on. So you got one guy that bets $50 on one bet on the biggest sports game of the year. And you got another one that bets a total of $20 around the NBA All-Star event. That's it. Nothing else. Here's what Brendan Sorsby did. Just for all you that may not be familiar. He's not allowed to play in the NCAA this season. He's kind of been blacklisted from the NFL draft and the NFL. I believe he can be drafted next season. When he was at Indiana, he placed 8,600 plus wagers, totaling more than $30,000. 40 of those wagers were on his own football team for a minimum of $850. He also transferred $60,000 to various friends of his so that they could place bets on his behalf. In total, he wagered almost 10,000 different bets for a total of just over $90,000. But boy, Mississippi State sure got off easy, didn't they? Boy, a $50 bet on the Super Bowl really compares to $90,000 damn dollars by one guy. Do you know how addicted to gambling you have to be to place almost $10,000, not $10,000 worth of wagers, 10,000 wagers, different bets, one bet, two bet, three bet, four bet, five bets, almost 10,000 different bets placed by Brendan Sorsby. And Texas Tech fans want to come into this conversation and think they have a place. You have no standing in this situation here. I would advise you to get up, walk out, and shut the door behind you before it hits you in the butt. Because similar to Bud Elliott, you're embarrassing yourselves. the little eye emojis, well, it's not fair that Mississippi State got off so easy. Why do we have to play without a quarterback this year? Oh my goodness, that they did it too. They did it too. See, they bet money too. They didn't bet almost 10,000 different wagers. They didn't bet over 90,000 damn dollars. Two guys combined, 3 bets, $70. And they lost all those bets, by the way. And you want to come and try to be a part of this conversation and try to compare it in any way whatsoever. Absolute stupidity. Absolute lunacy on the part of Texas Tech fans. We're going to get into the last topic, and I will preface it a little bit in just a moment, but it goes to society. Our society is so dumb these days. It's infuriating. The lack of common sense that exists in our country and in the world these days is honestly a spectacle every day. Every single day we see something dumber, and we see somebody more dumb than they were the day before. And it's unbelievable to watch. Zero common sense and zero logic applied to so many of these situations. You're telling me that out of hundreds and hundreds of Texas Tech fans in the replies to a state newspaper in the state of Mississippi, not one of you had enough of a brain to say, whoa, maybe, just maybe, we need to sit this one out. Not one of you? That's what I find hard to believe. You're either trolling or you're that truly dumb. And honestly, I don't know what to believe. It could be either one these days. But let me definitively say, here and now, that a football player placing a $50 bet on a Super Bowl and a football player placing a total of $20 on the NBA All-Star game and three-point competition has no comparison whatsoever to one guy who's the face of a program betting over 40 times on his own team. We don't know. Did he bet on them to lose? We don't know. But placing almost 10,000 bets for over $90,000. The dude needs to be in rehab. That's a problem. That's a problem that will follow him. And let me tell you right now, if you think NFL teams are going to touch that, they're not going to trust that to lead billion-dollar franchises. Think again. Whew. Everybody all right? Everybody okay in here? Let me grab a drink real quick. Now, the last topic I want to dive into. I'm not going to dive into it a whole lot, or I may. I'm going to see how long I go. But I'm going to say what I have to say. This podcast is a Mississippi State Bulldog podcast. Yes, I will update you on what's going on around the nation as far as sports go. I will update you on what's going around at Mississippi State. This will rarely be a political podcast. Rarely. And I don't want to get into politics a whole lot. But this pissed me off so bad that it has to be talked about because I am just absolutely done with it. I'm absolutely sick of it, and I'm tired of seeing it. Pat McAfee. And most of you already know where it's going. Pat McAfee attended what's called the Patriot Games yesterday. And Pat McAfee tweeted, had a blast celebrating high schoolers from across the country with the heads of Disney, ABC, ESPN, and the United States of America. By United States of America, he means President Donald Trump. Goes on to say, I'm proud of all parties getting behind this important initiative to keep future generations excited about remaining active. Cheers to the incredible contestants and to next year's Patriot Games. And then he's got a picture of him with different CEOs and heads of companies. He's got a picture of him sitting by Donald Trump, walking with Donald Trump, and hanging out with the athletes. The Patriot Games were created by Donald Trump as an event set up to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America. We just had a massive July 4th celebration celebrating the 250th anniversary of Independence Day. But ultimately, this is an event that was created to showcase America's love of sports and love of competition, and to encourage our younger generation to stay active, stay healthy, and be in shape and have the true spirit of competition. So 2 teenagers were picked from every state to compete in the games, which took place in, I believe it was Geneva, Ohio. Even had military bases, Native American tribes, and U.S. territories participating. The athletes were required to answer questions about American patriotism because it's a celebration of America's 250th anniversary. And the winners, one boy and one girl between the ages of 14 to 17, were going to receive $125,000 in scholarship rewards to go to college. Trump was there for the final day to watch the top 32 athletes compete in the final round. He was interviewed. I thought had a great interview, highlighted the spirit of competition, celebrated with the athletes. You had Danielle Alvarez, the Freedom 250 spokesperson, who said, quote, the 2026 Patriot Games is about more than competition. It's about the grit, character, and optimism that have carried America for over 250 years. These young athletes represent the very best of who we are and the promise of what is still to come. That's what the Patriot Games are. That's what Pat McAfee attended. Let me read to you some of the responses to Pat McAfee tweeting that. I hope you realize you've lost a lot of fans. You may soon be left with this measly 33%. Just hanging with the guy who assaults high schoolers. Thank God you're done with the WWE. Can't believe you're supporting a predator. Bro, you're hanging out with pedos. It's a bummer to see who you support. You can F all the way off. Becoming the mouthpiece for a dictator. Pretty sad to see who you're associating with. What do y'all think about those responses? to a tweet celebrating high school athletes who are competing under the umbrella of patriotism for scholarship money. And we have absolute numbskulls in this country that want to act like that's a bad thing. I don't care who the president is. I do not care who the president is right now. It could have been Obama. It could have been Biden. I do not care. I watched the Patriot games, and I would have watched them if they were there. If the President of the United States asked you to come sit by him at an event celebrating high school athletes in sports, to celebrate the 250th year of America, you're really going to turn that down based on who it is? Are you that weak-minded? These idiots expected Pat McAfee to say, "Oh no, I'm not going because he's going to be there." Well, what are we talking about? Are we talking about junior high prom? We talk about a school dance? Oh, I can't go in that room because so-and-so's in there. He's got cooties. Give me a freaking break. Grow a pair. I am sick of this society being so freaking soft. It's infuriating. When you cannot even celebrate high school athletes who are some of the top athletes in the world competing for America, and you want to make it political? The thing that really upsets me about it is, again, I wouldn't care who the president is. A lot of presidents do a lot of good things, and a lot of presidents are absolute idiots and do a lot of really dumb stuff. And that's just the way life goes. There are good ones and there are bad ones. There are some that do more good than they do bad, and there are some that do more things that are stupid than they are good. And that's just the way life goes. That's America. But to sit here and flame a sports commentator simply for being somewhere that the President of the United States happened to be, I can't get behind that. And I'm frankly tired of seeing what is largely a ridiculous minority in this society that we live in continue to have the loudest voices on different platforms. America was founded on free speech. So unfortunately, these idiots get to say the absolute dumbest things imaginable that come to their little pea brains. And that's fine. That's what America was built on, was free speech. But my God, man, again, not a single one of you, not a single person said, hey, just maybe, you know what? It doesn't matter who the president is. This is a great event celebrating our country as a whole, and that's something I can get behind. Not one single person in these comments had the situational awareness or the wherewithal to think that way. That's infuriating. I'm just going to be slap honest with you. That makes me fighting mad. And it's because, in large part, you watch people in Congress, and yes, I do like watching all the clips because I, in another life, would probably be a lawyer. I would probably be a great debater, and I would love every second of it. But you watch these people that encounter these idiots out in the wild, or however you want to say it, and they just don't challenge them. They let them be stupid, and they let them say this dumb shit without any proof or any backup whatsoever. Some of the names that were thrown out there in those comments have zero proof behind them. None whatsoever. And all it would take to shut these idiots up is for one person to say, where's your evidence? If you're going to say this, back it up. Where's your evidence? Oh, well, CNN said, or MSNBC said that he did this way back 25 years ago. That's not evidence. That's speculation. Evidence. Prove it. Prove it. A lot of people do bad stuff. A lot of people do good stuff. But the amount of people that are just throwing things out there with zero knowledge of a situation is infuriating. And I'm tired of seeing it in this society. I wish society would go back to where we didn't have information at our fingertips. I mean, smartphones have truly dumbed down this entire nation. And it's sad to see. You still have some people with a brain. And the thing is, what people need to understand, the people with a brain out there that have common sense and logic, they're going to see those Patriot games and not care who the president was. They're not going to care who was there politically. They're going to say, hey, that's a great thing. That's a great thing for our high schoolers. Man, those guys are athletes. Man, those girls are athletes. And they're going to enjoy watching that. That's what a normal human does. I've had members in my family have the chance to meet presidents. And there's presidents that we voted for and presidents that we didn't vote for. And they've had the chance to meet several of them. And I remember I asked one time when I was a child, I said, I thought we didn't like that person. And my relative looked me in my face and said something I have never forgotten to this day. And said, you don't have to like the person, but you can absolutely respect the office that that person holds. It doesn't matter if you voted for Trump. It doesn't matter if you voted for Biden or Cackling Harris or whoever. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump is your president. And you can respect that however many millions of people voted for him to be president a second time. That's hard to do, people. That's hard to do. You can respect the position that the person holds. I don't have to like my boss, but I do have to respect that that's my boss. And it was so funny to me, the number of people in 2016, when Trump won the first election, that what was their favorite saying? You remember? Their favorite saying was, hashtag not my president. That's not my president. Newsflash, yeah, he was. Yes, he was. Whether you like it or not, too bad, so sad. Better get over it. Plain and simple, man. That's how it goes. But if you cannot watch a college football game, if you cannot watch high school athletes compete against the best to be the best, to win a scholarship to go to college and better themselves, if you cannot go out to a restaurant and sit and eat with your family without getting mad at the hat another person is wearing across the room from you, if you can't watch all those sports without thinking, oh, I can't watch this game because the president's at it, you're a sad, miserable human being who will die lonely in a basement with no one around you, as it should be. Everybody okay? I had to pop off a little bit tonight. I hope everybody survived. With that said, that is probably the last time I will mention politics on this podcast. But it just made me so mad seeing Pat McAfee get drugged by absolute imbeciles over something that everyone should be behind regardless of who you support. That I had to get it off my chest. Next week, I will have a buddy of mine on here joining me. Good friend of mine, known a long time. We'll banter back and forth about the schedule. He's going to have some ideas that I don't share, and vice versa. And we're going to throw down a prediction for Mississippi State football and Jeff Lebby and Kamario Taylor. We're going to throw down a prediction on that thing and see what we can come up with. And I think you guys will likely be a little surprised. So get ready for that episode. It'll be a fun one, and it probably will not go as long as this one has. But when you got 3 rants to hit, that can really drive the time up. So thank you for joining us tonight as I sit here recording on a Wednesday night, hopefully Thursday morning as you're listening on the way to work or on the way home from work. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let's engage. I like comments. I like hearing your thoughts. Guys, overall, I'm just a fan. I'm a football fan. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a former coach. But overall, I'm just a member of this community that I live in. I'm a normal person. And country boy, traditional, is how I'll always be. And my sons aren't old enough to talk ball with me yet. So this is how I get to talk ball. So I enjoy this little piece of heaven that I get for about 45 minutes to an hour once a week. And we'll move to twice a week once football season starts. And we'll probably remain twice a week throughout football, basketball, and baseball season. Also, before we get out of here, I have to shout out the Mississippi State women's soccer team. I have notably become a large fan over the last 2 years as they've done great things. Year 1 of our new coach who joined us from Lipscomb. And their season started tonight with a 3-0 win over South Alabama. So looking forward to those ladies and seeing what they can do. If you have not been to a women's soccer game at Mississippi State, it ain't like the World Cup. You don't have a lot of flopping. You don't have a lot of, oh, she scraped me and my arm fell off. These girls absolutely get after it. And it is so much fun to watch. It's great atmospheres. I encourage you to go to a game if you've never been to one. It's free. Who doesn't like free stuff? So I highly encourage you to go to a soccer game. We'll be back with you next week. I am your neighborhood Bulldog. Peace out.